It's the penultimate event of the Britcar Dunlop Endurance E-Series presented by Brabham Automotive. Another double header and a return visit to Silverstone for the third time during this inaugural season. This time we're on the Grand Prix circuit, and as you can see from the racingriggs.co.uk starting grid, it was pretty tight in qualifying. David Brabham in the BT62 getting pole position by just over a tenth from Alan Berg in the VR Motorsport Praga R1T. On the second row of the grid, two E-Series debutants. Matt Brabham, the nephew of David, with his BT62 just 7 thousandths of a second quicker. The next Grand Prix racer, Karun Chandok, with Will Powell and Isaac Rain completing the top six. Visit racingriggs.co.uk for some great deals on professional sim racing equipment. So the cars on the grid all set for 30 minutes of racing, the first race of two here at Silverstone. I'm Chris Hartley to talk you through the latest adventure in the Britcar E-Series. It's a good start for David Brabham. Lots of wheel spin off the line for the Praga of Alan Berg, and a decent start as well for Matt Brabham in the dark green BT62. But it's David that leads the way. I think in the background there's been a change for second. Matt Brabham squeezing through. Yes, he's got the inside line for Village, and he gets ahead of Alan Berg, the Luxembourg-based sports car racer. Alan then having to close the door to keep Karun Chandok behind him in fourth place. Fifth is Will Powell, who won both of the races here earlier on in the season around the Grand Prix version of the circuit. And then to complete the top six, it's the yellow MacG Racing Glickenhaus of Isaac Rain as the Praga pulls to the inside down the Wellington Straight, looking to regain the position on the way into Brooklands. But Matt Brabham stands tall around the outside and holds on to second place. And then Karun Chandok trying to get through as well as they turn right now, make their way through Luffield, charging up towards Woodcut Corner, the three of them as one. Will Powell just off them in fifth place, paying a watching brief here. Meanwhile, replay of the start, the pole sitter David Brabham to the right with some wheel spin, not as much as Alan Berg in the VR Motorsport Praga. Then a good start for Matt Brabham in the green BT62, trying to go around the outside. Chandok trying to get up the inside. We go back live and we're with the 7th place car of James Rainford. Perhaps more importantly though, he's the Class 2 leader. It's his son Charles that's been taking all of the plaudits and most of the race victories in that category, but James too has been a class winner. That was in the opening weekend at Spa. The leaders go through. This is a pretty tight battle going on just behind, particularly between Mo Ritson and Sarah Moore and Greg King as well. The Top with Motorsport entry in the Ginettas all firing their way through the Beckett's S's for the first time, as Alan Berg has to go defensive through Stowe to keep at bay Chandok, and Chandok now on the attack, but he's going to be on the outside line as they get to Vale. The Praga keeps its nose in front of this battle for third place. Chandok comes down the inside though, under braking on the way into Vale. There's a bit of contact on the way through, but the BT62 gains a place. Will Powell trying to get in on the action as well, but he goes out wide through Club, and he might come under pressure now from the yellow machine of Isaac Rain in the Glickenhaus. So it is a Brabham BT62 1-2-3 at the end of the first lap of the race, with David Brabham having his nose in front here of his nephew Matt by, well, 2 seconds, 2.3 seconds, helped in part by all the battling that's been going on behind him. He made a good start to the race, David Brabham, a two-time winner already in the E-Series. Oh, that's one of the Tockwith Motorsport Ginettas, Greg King, getting leery, trying to rejoin. In the background there was one in the gravel trap. Gemma Moore plummeting down the timing screen as well, and that's Sarah Moore. They were all together last we saw them, and they've obviously got a bit too close for company. Three Ginettas did not fit into one, seemingly. So as they all tried to recover, Peter Spano gained several places and moves up to 11th position now in his Porsche. And Max Coates has moved up to second place in the category behind James Rainford. So that's all got rather lively rather early on in the race. And now we've got Will Powell ahead of Alan Berg, but Alan trying to get back ahead of him. The Luxembourg driver tries to go down the inside, or at least looks down the inside on the way into Copse Corner, but there's nothing doing there, and that's another BT62 through. Oh, side by side again here with Sarah Moore and Greg King going wheel to wheel on the way into the right-hander at Copse Corner. Sarah, former Britcar champion, W-Series racer, getting the better and trying to catch up now to Peter Spano. So back to the Praga in 5th place here, behind all 4 of the Brabham BT62s now. And there at the head of the pack, David Brabham, although his advantage has come down. He was 2.3 seconds clear. He's just over 1.8 seconds ahead now of Matt Brabham, the former US FF2000 and Pro Mazda champion, who's raced in a wide variety of different categories, including the Indy 500. He's raced in Formula E as well, and currently competing in the Stadium Super Trucks Off-Road Series as a two-time and reigning champion in that. Great onboard view here then from the BT62 of your race leader, David Brabham. Real life this car, a V8 engined 700 brake horsepower beast with a 5.4 litre power unit and some pretty sleek aerodynamics as well. A race winning car on its debut in the final round of the Britcar Dunlop Endurance Championship at Brands Hatch at the end of 2019. Great rear facing camera as well. You can see the gap though coming down bit by bit. 1.7 seconds, 1.6 seconds, so a tenth per sector at the moment. Matt Brabham seems to be catching up to his uncle David, but David really getting that big advantage on the first lap of the race where Matt Brabham, Karun Chandok and in particular Alan Berg were all having their little tussle. So there you can see the gap to the eye as they make their way through this fantastic sequence of corners, the Beckett's S's through the left-hander at Chapel and on then to the long hanger straights as they head down towards Stowe Corner, which is an opportunity to outbrake. Go on board now with Chandok in third place. He's 1.6 seconds down on Brabham, but he's pulling clear of the rest of the pack now. Powell falling behind in fourth place. Powell, the most winning driver so far this season with 3 consecutive race victories, 2 of which were at Silverstone around the Grand Prix circuit and one in the opening weekend at Spa-Francorchamps. Great view on board then with Chandok in third place, the former Grand Prix racer. 11 GP starts, predominantly with the HRT team, the now defunct Spanish Formula 1 team. Did have one race weekend with Lotus. Several seasons in GP2 on his way up to Formula 1 with a couple of race wins in that category. And he was also a very successful British Formula 3 racer back in the early 2000s. Had a couple of seasons in British F3 racing against the likes of Jamie Green, who's now gone on to become a front runner in DTM. Nelson Piquet, who went on to race in Formula 1. Will Power, the IndyCar champion and Indy 500 champion, was racing against Karun in Formula 3. Rob Austin, who went on to be a race winner, a multiple race winner in the British Touring Car Championship. Stephen Kane, great GT racer. Will Davison, another one, V8 supercar racer. So I think it was Alan van der Merwe who won the championship the second season that Karun competed in the national class. It was a very different layout to Silverstone back then, but Karun obviously getting to grips now with the Grand Prix circuit. This, of course, was the run-in to turn 1 back in the day, Copse Corner. Fantastic turn, and it's plenty of grip on board with the BT62 as it makes its way through there. Lots of run-off on the exit to that corner these days, and now one of the most famous sequence of corners in the world. Left, right, left, keep it buried, hover on the throttle, and then through the final sequence of corners at Beckett's you go. And then careful not to go too deep into here, take a bit of curb, and exiting Chapel onto the hanger straight. You've got to get the exit absolutely spot on there. All the time you can see on the graphic that the gap between the top 2 is coming down. It's just under 1.2 seconds now, and at this rate, in a couple of laps time, we should have the 2 Brabhams together, which should be a sight to behold. And if they start to fight each other, Karun is going quickly enough that he'll be able to get on terms with them as well, because he really is starting to get into the groove now. He's nearly 2.8 seconds clear already of Will Powell in fourth place, the fourth of the BT62s. On board, making your way onto the international pit straight now and towards the super quick right-hander at Abbey, before the super quick left-hander at Farm Curve, and then down towards the heavy braking zone, the first on the lap at Village Corner. There's Peter Spano in the Raman Racing Porsche Cayman. He is 6th in Class 2 now. Sarah Moore was behind him last we saw. She has now got ahead. Mo Ritson's got ahead of the Porsche as well. So it's James Rainford, Max Coates, David Farrow, the top 3 in Class 2. Sarah Moore 4th, Mo Ritson 5th, and you're looking at Peter Spano rounding out the top 6 at the moment. The same replica on that car that he uses in real life, sponsoring and supporting Diabetes UK. Right then, we are now with the Praga of the 5th place car of Alan Berg, trying to catch up to the BT62s and back to the head of that group. We now see the gap down to under a second. In fact, just about 3/4 of a second it is between David Brabham and Matt Brabham, who's been catching him up for the last 3 or 4 laps now. They're about to go through Maggots and into the Beckett's S's, and just in the distance, 2 seconds or so behind them, is Chandok in 3rd place, trying to get involved in this scrap for the lead of the race. Still plenty of time left to go. We're only just about coming up to 1/3 race distance, and a good exit there from Chapel for Matt Brabham, coming out onto the straight. David Brabham weaves this way, then that. I can see what's coming in the mirrors, I think. The gap down to under half a second through the last timing beam, and less than that, I reckon, as they make their way out of Stowe. And he just seems to be smoother, seems to be able to get the power down more easily, and seems to be eating up the advantage of his uncle through each and every corner at the moment. So by the end of this lap, in just a few seconds' time, they're virtually going to be together here. Now, having caught David Brabham, is there a way through here for Matt? Because that's going to be the next challenge. And the longer that David Brabham is able to keep him behind, if he is able to keep him behind, the easier it will become for him to defend, because he'll know exactly where the strengths and weaknesses are of his nephew. But to uphold family honour here, David Brabham certainly is going to have his work cut out here. It's going to be a pretty long remainder of the race for the son of the three-time Formula 1 world champion, Sir Jack Brabham, the late great Australian multiple world Formula 1 champion. David Brabham, though, getting a good run onto the Wellington Straight. He's recovered a little bit of his advantage here. It's out to nearly 0.8 of a second again. He's a little bit wider on the way into the left-hander at Brooklands. Line looks fine, though, on the way into Luffield. Not too much between them there. So is it a case of being given the hurry-up call now? David Brabham, who, like Karun Chandok, did some Formula 3 racing back in the day, albeit in a different decade. He was the 1989 British Formula 3 champion, a Macau GP winner as well the same season on his march up towards Formula 1. Unfortunately, never got the equipment really to show what he could do in Grand Prix racing, but one of the best sports car racers of the last 2 decades, David Brabham. And a pretty good E-Series racer, it seems. He won one of the last 2 rounds of the E-Series here at Silverstone, but around the international circuit, as we go to the battle between Sarah Moore and Mo Ritson, who both have raced for Tockwith, the Moore's family-run championship winning team in the Britcar Dunlop Endurance Championship. Mo Ritson in 11th place currently, trying to home in on Sarah. This is for 4th in Class 2, and Mo has got the gap down, coming out onto the Wellington Straight. He's going to pick up a bit of a tow, but the line is covered, so he sweeps to the outside. This is going to be brave stuff. There should be less traction there, but he might just keep his foot in and get the inside line on the way into Luffield. There's contact, there's no room, so he has to go on the curbs, on the grass, and forces his way through. Sarah Moore goes out wide, but she might now try and cut back on the exit here as they go through the right-hander at Woodcut and onto the National Pit Straight. She's going to be alongside, but not with the nose in front yet, and I think that Mo Ritson in the white Ginetta might just hold on to this as they go towards Copse Corner. We'll find out where next we see them, because we go back to the leaders now. Just 2/10 between them, and a look at the inside for the first time. A proper attack here for Matt Brabham, but David closes the door just in time. The brake discs glow red on the second place car. He's been working them hard to catch up to the race leader, and that was the first time really that he showed his nose. As we go back to the battle between the Tockwith Ginettas and Sarah Moore trying to get back up the inside on the way into Stowe. She's done it, I think, and Sarah through. So great tussle going on between these two. Mo was on the podium last time out around the international circuit, 2nd place finish for him. Sarah's yet to get on the podium in the E-Series, but has come close on a number of occasions and had some really good battles, including a fantastic scrap that she had with Max Coates a couple of rounds ago at Brands Hatch. Now back to the lead squabble, just cleared up a little bit, but I reckon that gap will come down by the time they get to the end of the hanger straight. It was 3/10, it's down to 2/10, it's probably down to about 1/10 of a second now as they both hit the brakes and turn right through Stowe. Might be an opportunity on the way into the left-hander at Vale. If the door opens up, he thinks about it, shows his nose, but clearly with an eye to the mirrors, David Brabham keeps it on the racing line and just makes life that little bit more difficult for Matt Brabham trying to chase him down. So through Club, it's follow your leader. There's no real way through there. Onto the international pit straight they go, and heading up towards Abbey. This could be a brave move, showing his nose once again. This is a great squabble developing between these two. Through the left-hander at Farm next. If he can hold the tight line there, he might be able to swing up the inside on the way into Village Corner. That's exactly what happens. Matt Brabham set that up beautifully. He's a bit deep into the corner, but he just about gathers it as they turn left through the loop, and as he builds up the speed towards Aintree and the Wellington Straight, he might have to keep an eye on the mirrors, because he braked himself to get through and was a bit scruffy on the exit to all of that. So sure enough, the yellow and blue number 5 machine of David Brabham shows its nose now in the mirrors, but I think Matt has got it covered off on the way into Brooklands. Yes, indeed he has. So that was a good move, good opportunistic driving there from Matt Brabham. He just got the better run through Abbey, held it through Farm and knew exactly what he was going to do, under braking on the way into Village Corner. Right, the 112 car of Mo Ritson, the white machine, drawing back alongside the red and white now of Sarah Moore, the team leader. And does he get through around the outside? I don't think so, although it's made Sarah go a little bit deep through the exit to the corner, and he's going to have a chance here, albeit around the outside, going into the next corner at Vale. Who's going to get there first? It's going to be Mo Ritson, so he gets through. Although just putting that bit of pressure on, and Sarah Moore just slightly got the apex wrong and the line wrong through Stowe, which cost her into the next corner at Vale. So Mo Ritson through into 4th place now in the category. Having to work super hard though again to fend off Sarah on the way through the next sequence of corners on the brakes into Village. And Mo Ritson looks to have stabilised that position now. All the time they've fallen a little bit further back now on David Farrow. There is the 2nd place car of Max Coates, who has switched from a few seasons of racing in the Renault UK Clio Cup, in which he was a multiple race winner and oh so close to the championship in 2019. He's remaining on the Toka package, supporting the BTCC this year, having stepped up to the Mini Challenge, and no doubt he's going to be a front runner in that as well. So Max Coates hustling along the Seat. How far down is he? Not that far back actually on Rainford. It's 1.5 seconds through the previous split. It's down to 1 second now, so a good sequence of corners that for Max Coates. And as he goes out onto the Hanger Straight, he is going to be pretty close to starting to pick up a toe anytime soon. On the brakes into the right-hander at Stowe he goes, and Max Coates getting ever so closer now in the DAT Racing Seat Leon TCR car. 1st and 2nd, these two. Now, a long way clear of David Farrow, who's having a slightly lonely race in 3rd, but he won't care too much because he's on course with 12.5 minutes to go at Farrow for his first podium finish in the E-Series. So the top 2 cross the line. Looks like a bit of a response there for Rainford, and maybe the gap going out slightly. Both of them not going as quickly as they have done previously. So the Yorkshireman homing in now on his target, closing the gap down to James Rainford to just under 9/10 of a second. A bit of a lock-up from the class leader as well as he negotiated the right-hander at Village Corner. And now we go back to Chandok in 3rd place, but much, much closer to David Brabham than when we last saw them. He's within half a second now as they make their way down towards Vale. There's a bit of traffic coming into this as well, so I don't know if that maybe held David up, but he's got Chandok breathing down his neck almost underneath the rear wing of the yellow and blue BT62 now as they accelerate out onto the international pit straight. They're putting a lap on Peter Sparno now in the Porsche Cayman. They're both going to get through before they get to the right-hander at Abbey, so not going to be delayed there, but there is more traffic potentially to come for the rest of this race, even though they're on the long version of the Silverstone circuit using the full Grand Prix version. Suddenly, look, Matt Brabham is more than 2 seconds clear now. So Chandok, if he feels he's being held up here by David Brabham, he's going to want to get past pretty rapidly. Gets on the gas hard there, the man from Chennai in India, and just gets the back end stepped out slightly. Desperate to get the better run coming onto the Wellington Straight. I'm not sure he's quite going to be close enough to attack on the way into Brooklands, but he's really starting to pile the pressure on now. And out through the left-hander they go. What's happened to Brabham? He's disappeared from the shot. He's gone wide, I think, through the turn. Yes, he's dropped back. So it didn't look like Chandok was going to be able to get through under braking, but Brabham has gifted him 2nd position. So we'll see what he can do about the race leader now. Meanwhile, Max Coates within 6/10 of a second of James Rainford as they braking hard in the case of James Rainford on the way into Vale, through Club Corner now and heading towards the start-finish straight. This is the battle for the victory in Class 2. Max Coates has got 1 podium finish so far. He hasn't done every round of the E-Series, but he got a 3rd place finish in race 1 at Brands Hatch around the Grand Prix circuit. So he's looking for his first E-Series win. He's done quite a bit of E-Series racing during the lockdown periods as well, and getting better and better at it. But trust me, in real life racing, Max Coates is a fine, fine driver. Getting close now to the tail of James Rainford, the historic racer, who too has got better and better in this category. I know he got his win in the first weekend of the season, but I think it's fair to say the competition has got tougher and tougher with each and every time that we've had drivers coming into the E-Series, with former Grand Prix racers aplenty joining the grid as well. Right, closing up but not finding a way through yet. Under braking is Max Coates through the right-hander at Luffield. More tyre smoke, more lockups. Max throwing the thing into the corners, but not yet able to get within touching distance of James Rainford, who, in fairness, is doing a good job here. He's responded to the pressure that has been coming from behind. David Farrow still on his own in third, 10 seconds clear of Mo Ritson. Mo has now pulled away from Sarah Moore after their duel that went on for a number of laps. So it's about 5 seconds between Ritson and Sarah Moore, now fourth and fifth. Peter Spano still sixth in the category. Here's Will Powell coming through shot in fourth place. 2 seconds or so behind him is Alan Berg in the VR Motorsports Praga. And there is Isaac Rain, currently running in sixth place. And 2 sixth place finishes last time out at Silverstone in the E-Series around the international version of the circuit. Isaac's best result so far, 5th place in the first race of the season at Spa, where he had to come from the back of the field after getting tangled up with another car on the first lap of the race. But the 18-year-old who grew up in Melbourne, no huge amount of race experience for him apart from some karting. He's a Rolls-Royce Aerospace apprentice and a race day volunteer with the MacG Racing squad. As we go back to the Class 2 battle, and it is now virtually nose to tail on the way through Abbey, because Max Coates has absolutely got onto terms now with James Rainford with just under 8 minutes to go. He tries to go around the outside at Village. Brave stuff, and I think he's going to do it here. He'll have the left-hander sorted for the loop, and Max Coates through. Bit wide, bit of contact, and Rainford now trying to nibble back up the inside on the way into the loop. It's going to be neck and neck as they go out onto the Wellington Straight. The inside line will be with the blue and white car of Rainford. The outside line is going to be with Max Coates. Who's got the nose in front? I think Rainford, gets the place back on the way into Brooklands. So he now has to go super defensive on the way through the right-hander in the CCK Motorsports Seat Leon. And swinging out wide and going on the attack here is Max Coates once more, charging up towards the right-hander at Copse Corner. We've seen him go around the outside once. Can he do it at Copse Corner? This will be brave, and he is. He's going for it. Takes to the curb, runs a bit wide, but just loses the momentum coming out of the turn. And while all that was going on, we've had a change for the overall lead, because Chandok, look, according to the graphic, is now ahead of Brabham, and he was 3 seconds behind him. So maybe Matt Brabham having a moment somewhere, but suddenly Karun Chandok is our new race leader, and he's nearly 2 seconds clear of Matt Brabham with David in third. Right, back to Max Coates. And again, he's going to try the outside line. He can't get up the inside because James is just sitting on the racing line. Max Coates with his nose in front, but more distance to travel around the right-hander at Stowe. And Rainford fends him off, but for now, look, he's going to squeeze back alongside, and now he's going to get the better line. And Max Coates, after almost a lap of running side by side, dives down the inside, slightly outbrakes himself, but gets through into the lead of the category. It ain't over yet, though, because Rainford, look, has got the better run coming out through Club. That was because Max Coates was a little bit deep, as he had to be, outbraking the then race leader on the way into the left-hander at Vale. He holds him off, though, and through Abbey, he'll keep the nose in front of the DAT Racing Seat. Watching the mirrors all the time, though, you suspect. Max Coates, though, leading and just fending off that attack, that re-attack coming from James Rainford. There was not very much between them in terms of lap times, though, and that was a fantastic lap of the pair dueling. I think there's probably more to come as well. Max Coates trying to just get his head down now, down the Wellington Straight, and ease away from Rainford. I think he'll be okay on the way into Brooklands. Right, what we got left, just over 5 minutes on the clock, and I'm keeping my eye to the tower graphic to the top left of your screen, because that gap was starting to come down again between Chandok and Matt Brabham, as Max Coates and to a point James Rainford both run a little bit wide and pick up some dust and dirty the tyres on the way through Woodcote Corner. Rainford definitely coming back here at Max Coates, trying to give him a taste of his own medicine around the outside at Copse Corner, but Max hugs the curbs, hugs the inside line and gets a decent exit, although Rainford again looks quicker on the way out of the turn, coming up towards Maggots. This would be brave, super brave, and probably a bit unlikely to get through here. He's still going to show his nose, though, on the way into the Beckett S's. Rainford, though, in the end, has to do the sensible thing and back off and drop back in, behind Max Coates. So try and sit behind him here and then get the better run out of Chapel and onto the hanger straight. He'll pick up a toe, that is for sure. But you know, Max is going to put it on the racing line now, and if he's going to get past, James Rainford is probably going to have to try the outside line, although there is a gap, and he lunges out of the last millisecond to go to the inside, and they're absolutely wheel to wheel. Max Coates goes a bit deep into the corner, trying to keep the gap between them sensible on the way out of the turn. He's going to have the inside line for the next braking zone, and Max Coates just about fends off James Rainford, but he's all over him here. Whichever is in front, he's getting serious grief from the other as they keep on swapping positions in the last 2 or 3 laps of the race. The gap between the top 2, incidentally, is down to just under 0.8 of a second as here comes Rainford for the Class 2 lead. Lunges down the inside and gets back through on the way to Abbey, but he's a bit deep on the way into Farm. Slightly untidy line there, and that might give Max another opportunity, perhaps on the way into Village Corner. No, because the inside line is covered. And James perhaps doing a slightly better job here of defending the inside line at times. Max Coates, though, now the quicker of the two, if you can say that, because there's hardly the cigarette paper between the pair of them. And there hasn't been for 5 or 6 minutes now. Max Coates, though, has got the target ahead. Eyes fixed on the braking zone and maybe lunging up the inside, or maybe going around the outside on the way into Brooklands. He's got his nose in front again. He's going to go to the curbs, but he knows the right-hander coming up will favour his line, and the 99 machine goes back through. Chandok just 0.4 of a second clear of Matt Brabham. Right, we go back to that battle for the overall lead of the race. Got 2 fantastic battles here, one for Class 2 and one for the overall victory. Now it is Matt Brabham who had an indiscretion somewhere a few laps ago that cost him 3 or 4 seconds and dropped him down into second place, and he gets on the gas hard as he searches to get this lead back with just a couple of minutes to go now from Karun Chandok, who, remember, is making his E-Series debut here with us. Maybe these days predominantly a television presenter for Formula 1. However, that man can still drive a race car, it seems. He leads here. Matt Brabham in second. Will Powell now into third place. He's got ahead of David Brabham on the graphic while we've been watching this fantastic battle that's been going on for Class 2 here between Coates and Rainford. Rainford with his nose in front when we rejoined them, but barely, because Max Coates was trying to get the place back once again. It's almost going to be who is got their nose in front down the hanger straight for the final time. He's going to give the other one possibly a toe on that last lap. Right, Isaac Rain 5th has got ahead of the Praga now of Alan Berg, and is almost on terms with David Brabham. So looking for his best result so far here in the E-Series. Isaac Rain trying to find a way past Brabham. It's all kicking off. I don't know where to put the cameras here, because we're back to the Class 2 battle, and Max Coates side by side with James Rainford, not for the first time in this race. Interestingly, the Class 2 lead battle is coming up to be lapped by the overall leaders. Chandok still just ahead of Brabham. Max Coates is going to go to the inside through Brooklands, so there's your Class 2 leader for now. But what about what's going on in the background? I think Chandok still with his nose in front. Yes, just about. Oh, this is going to be quite interesting, I would say, when we get to Copse Corner. You've got 4 cars all going at it, hammer and tongs here for different categories. Although actually I think the 2 BT62s, I'm going to say they should be able to get through, but it's a bit messy here for Karun Chandok. He has to go to the outside line to avoid Max Coates. Oh, close your eyes. Brabham goes down the inside now, just about gets through on the way into Copse, but Max Coates is compromised here, and James Rainford is going to get the better run going down towards Maggots and the Beckett's S's. Wait and see who gets there first. It's going to be Chandok for the overall lead, Brabham in second place, and then a lap down behind them now. It is going to be, yes, James Rainford, who got through to regain the Class 2 lead. It's the final lap of the race. It's the final run down the hanger straight. This race has flown by. It's been absolutely terrific. I think the most entertaining race so far. We've still got Isaac Rain trying to catch David Brabham for 4th, but here are the leaders for the final time into Stowe Corner. Chandok has just got to negotiate Vale and Club now to make this a race victory on debut. Matt Brabham is trying everything to close the gap, but he's just that little bit too far back. Slightly deep into the corner though goes Karun Chandok, and Matt Brabham now comes at him as they come out of the club corner for the final time. There's contact between the pair of them, but Chandok is able to hang on to the car, pointed in the right direction, and takes the checkered flag. And what about the Class 2 victory? That's going to go to James Rainford after a fantastic battle with Max Coates. What a race, the best that we've had so far in the E-Series. It's Karun Chandok who wins Matt Brabham second. Will Powell got through to third late on in the race. Then it's David Brabham, Isaac Rain and Alan Berg to complete the top six. The top four spaces all filled by the Brabham BT62s. James Rainford, Max Coates and David Farrow, the top three in Class 2. We'll have more action from the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit with the second race of the weekend very shortly in the Britcar Dunlop Endurance E-Series, presented by Brabham Automotive.